Hi everybody, and welcome back to the channel again today. Okay, I'm going to do today's video. It's basically about, it's not something I was going to do, but I saw that my local MP put a post up on Facebook, which I believe went up this morning, because there's a bill that's going to be going through for MPs to vote on and have a bit of a chit chat and argue about. And she basically wanted to know what her local constituents' views were before she made a decision. Now, obviously, my local MP is Caroline Dinage. Okay, so she claims that she hasn't made a decision on what way she actually wants to vote when it does come up. Okay, so for any of you that don't know what the bill's about, okay, something that hasn't been put forward for approximately 9 years. Okay, and it's been put forward by the Labour MP Kim Ledbetter. Okay, which is about assisted dying. Now, this ain't something I generally like to talk about because you can end up opening a whole can of worms because different people have different views and different feelings about it. Okay, so you can have certain people who say, and I know a lot of people who put this argument forward and say, yeah, but if you had an animal that was dying, had no form of life, would you let it live? Would you let it carry on suffering? And they got a point. They got a massive point for putting that view forward, because most people wouldn't. You know, I know somebody recently, they had a ferret. The ferret had a tumour on it, and they got it put down because it wasn't fair for the ferret. Had no form of life, was struggling to get around, and the fairest and the most humane thing for that particular ferret, and I know we're talking about a ferret at the end of the day, was to let it go and put it down. Now, if that had been a human being, would it be put down? The answer is not, probably 99% of the time, no, it wouldn't. You know, there are people around in the UK that are suffering from some of the most inhumane diseases where they're going to suffer, you know, for a long length of time. And if it was an animal, most people wouldn't think twice about putting them down. So that's one side of the argument, which is the easy argument to put across. Okay, the other side of the coin is, which is an argument that my own wife put forward to me today when I actually asked her about this first thing this morning. And I actually understand this, you know, because I've come across this. If you put it forward, what are the risks of people that are extremely ill? You know, maybe, for instance, they've got something like Alzheimer's, where they're not going to recover, or dementia or something like that. And they're going to suffer due to coercive control, where people, you know, there might be a financial benefit. You know, the person that's dying may have a lot of money in the bank, and, you know, the person that's looking after them, you know, there might not be many people around. I think, sorry, I could do with getting the money a bit quicker if I can talk them into, you know, agreeing to kill himself. I can get the money a damn sight quicker. Or it could be a case of they don't want the aggro of spending maybe a few more years having to care for the person. you know, because we hear about these stories all the time in the press. So is there any physical way the government would be able to put any legislation into place to stop something like that happening, and being able to guarantee something like that wouldn't happen? And my view is no, it's physically impossible. There's no way they'd be able to do it. You know, short of coming at the position of, just to put an argument forward, as soon as the person finds out, for instance, right, I've got Alzheimer's, when I get to a certain stage, I want to be put to sleep. Problem is, a lot of conditions, you've already gone to a certain stage, and how do you actually decide that a person is mentally capable of making that decision, for one, and two, they haven't been talked into it by somebody. It doesn't necessarily a member of the family. So what I'm going to ask, and this might be a bit of a difficult one, is one, what do people actually think? You know, and two, if the government were to actually do this, and I don't really personally have much faith in politicians nowadays, I don't have faith in politicians for an awful long time, how could they actually do it so it was safe and that people weren't being taken advantage of? Because I personally, I don't see any way that they can do it. You know, it's a great idea to put it forward and give people the opportunity to have to leave this world in a humane way. I don't dispute that. But what I don't see is a way that they can actually do that. So, for everybody that's watching and listening, if you could let me know what you personally think, just drop a comment. I do read all the comments, okay? So drop a comment below. Obviously, if you're not currently a subscriber, if you wouldn't mind subscribing to the channel, so you can get more of the content that I do put up. You know, I try to put it out as often as humanly possible. I would appreciate it. But for now, thanks for listening. And we'll get another video out as soon as possible. And we'll speak to you again a bit later. But for now, cheers.